The roar of motorcycle engines filled the air as a group of outlaw bikers pulled into a quiet gas station on the edge of town. These were the kind of guys who turned heads and made people think twice before crossing them. Leather jackets, tattoos, and attitudes to match. They were used to getting their way. But today, they were about to meet someone they never expected. By the pump stood a lone woman, casually fueling up her truck. She didn't look like much at first glance, just another traveler on the road. But something about her calm confidence caught their attention. Thinking they'd have some fun, the bikers decided to mess with her. What they didn't know, she was no ordinary woman. This was a Navy SEAL, a trained fighter, a force to be reckoned with. And as the bikers got closer, they had no idea they were about to make the biggest mistake of their lives. The bikers approached her with cocky smirks, throwing out casual taunts and crude jokes, expecting to intimidate or, at the very least, get a reaction. She didn't flinch. Instead, she glanced their way, her eyes steady and unreadable. Her calm demeanor only seemed to encourage them, and one of them leaned closer, making a sarcastic comment about her ability to handle the big truck she was driving. What they didn't realize was that this woman had faced far more dangerous situations than a few loud-mouthed bikers. As a Navy SEAL, she had been through grueling training and life-or-death missions that demanded every ounce of courage, focus, and discipline. She wasn't just strong, she was unshakable. But she didn't say a word. She simply stood there, watching and waiting, as if assessing the situation. The bikers, oblivious to what was coming, laughed louder, convinced they had the upper hand. One of the bikers, a tall guy with a beard and a patched leather vest, decided to take things further. He grabbed a soda can from a nearby display and crushed it in his hand, laughing as he tossed it at her feet. "What's the matter? Cat got your tongue?" he sneered, his friends erupting into laughter. The woman remained silent, her expression unreadable. She didn't react to the soda can or their jeers, but there was a subtle shift in her stance. It was so small that none of them noticed, just the slightest adjustment of her weight, as if she were bracing for something. A few feet away, the gas station attendant peeked out from behind the counter, sensing trouble brewing. He didn't know who the woman was, but something about her presence gave him pause. She wasn't scared. If anything, she looked ready. The bikers, caught up in their antics, didn't see it. They didn't see her scanning their movements, her sharp mind calculating every detail. For her, this wasn't intimidation, it was preparation. And soon they'd realize they'd underestimated the wrong person. The air around the gas station felt heavier as the bikers circled closer, their laughter echoing in the quiet. One of them, shorter but stockier, stepped forward and reached for the woman's truck door handle, grinning as he joked about taking it for a spin. That's when she spoke, her voice calm but firm, cutting through the noise like a blade. "I wouldn't do that if I were you." The laughter stopped, replaced by an uneasy silence. For the first time, they seemed to notice her tone. Not angry, not scared, just steady, like she was completely in control. It was unsettling, but the tall one, clearly the leader, shrugged it off and stepped closer. "Or what?" he challenged, his voice dripping with arrogance. She turned slightly, her posture relaxed but deliberate. Every move she made was measured, and the bikers, though still trying to act tough, couldn't ignore this strange shift in energy. The leader chuckled nervously, but his hand twitched as if he wasn't so sure anymore. Inside the gas station, the attendant froze, his eyes darting between them. Something was about to happen, and he wasn't sure if he should intervene or stay out of it. Outside, the tension hung like a storm cloud, ready to break. The woman's eyes locked with the leader's, unblinking, unafraid. She was done waiting. The leader took another step forward, his bravado masking the creeping doubt in his mind. Before he could say a word, a low, unmistakable hum broke the silence. It wasn't coming from the bikers, it was coming from the woman's truck. The sound of a radio frequency, crackling faintly, caught their attention. She shifted her weight just enough to reveal a small tactical earpiece nestled in her ear. "Code 4, she said quietly, her words deliberate. Situation contained. The bikers froze, their earlier confidence faltering. One of them whispered, "What does that mean?" But the leader snapped at him to shut up, though his own face was pale. The woman didn't move, her eyes scanning the group like she was taking inventory of their every twitch and breath. Then from the corner of the gas station parking lot, headlights pierced the dim evening light. A sleek, unmarked SUV rolled in, its engine rumbling with authority. The doors opened, and two men stepped out, dressed casually but carrying themselves with an unmistakable air of precision and purpose. The bikers exchanged uneasy glances, their bravado unraveling faster than they could hide it. "Who the hell are they?" one muttered, his voice shaky. The woman didn't answer, her gaze locked on the leader, who now looked more like a caged animal than the predator he had been moments before. She took one step closer, her voice dropping to a tone that left no room for argument. "Walk away, while you still can." The leader hesitated, his confidence unraveling under the weight of her unwavering stare. The bikers, now visibly uneasy, looked to him for direction, but he was out of moves. The men from the SUV stood silently by, their presence enough to send a clear message. This wasn't going to end well for the bikers if they pushed any further. Finally, the leader threw up his hands and forced a nervous laugh, trying to save face. "All right, lady, you win. We were just messing around." He motioned for his crew to back off, but the woman didn't budge. Her eyes stayed locked on him as she stepped forward, closing the gap between them. "I'm not here to play games," she said, her voice low but razor sharp. "You think you can intimidate people because you're in a group. That doesn't make you strong. It makes you predictable." She paused, letting her words sink in before leaning in slightly and adding, "And predictable gets you caught." The leader stiffened, confusion flashing across his face. But before he could respond, the woman reached into her jacket and pulled out a badge. The biker's eyes widened as they realized she wasn't just a Navy SEAL. She was an undercover operative. The SUV's passengers stepped forward, revealing tactical gear under their casual clothes. "This was never your fight to win," she said, slipping the badge back into her pocket. "But you made it mine when you crossed the line." The bikers, now pale and silent, quickly climbed onto their motorcycles, muttering half-hearted apologies before speeding off into the night. The woman stood there for a moment, watching them disappear into the distance. As the tension lifted, the gas station attendant stepped outside, still wide-eyed. "You okay?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. She gave him a small, knowing smile. "Always." Just as she turned to leave, her radio crackled again. A voice came through, calm but urgent. "New assignment. Stand by for details." Without hesitation, she nodded, got into her truck, and drove off into the night, leaving the attendant with more questions than answers. The gas station attendant stood in silence, replaying everything that had just happened. It wasn't every day you witnessed a group of outlaw bikers get taken down a peg by someone so calm and composed. He glanced toward the empty road where the woman's truck had disappeared, still trying to process who she really was. Meanwhile, the bikers rode off in tense silence, the weight of their mistake hanging over them. They had expected an easy target, but had instead stumbled into the path of someone who was trained to handle the toughest situations imaginable. That encounter would haunt them for a long time. As for the woman, she drove on, her focus already shifting to the next mission. People like her didn't seek recognition or applause. They just did what needed to be done. Tonight was no different. And somewhere out there, someone else would learn the hard way not to underestimate her.